Hello, everybody. This is Paul checking in on the 14th here, Valentine's Day. Doing a quick check just to give everybody a general idea how the portfolio is going and just my thoughts on the market. I also wanted to go over this. Um, if you should be able to see, there it goes. Should be somewhat viewable. So, this is a 1099 div form. And if you've been investing, um, E-Trade specifically releases theirs around the 15th of the month of February, sometimes earlier. And this is a completely separate form that you fill out along with your W-2 and whatnot. It's actually a separate thing that you got to fill out, and all these little boxes correspond to something. So what I wanted to do is just kind of go over mine to show you where, you know, kind of what's going on here since you have a ton of stuff going on. So let's just go over the portfolio real fast and just show you some things. So if you'll notice, this amount right here is actually lower. Uh, it's because the market's lower today. The market's all over the place. Um, so this is actually lower a little bit. This is going to go up actually because I'm going to drop a pretty large amount of my tax return into here pretty soon. But if you notice, every time I hit refresh, it's moving all over the place. So let me show you what I did so far since the last time I made a video. Um, so since the last time I made a video, I added, so the general idea as to what I'm going for right now. And so I go over to my charts. You'll see, maybe if you looked at my video maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, REITs made up a bigger part of my portfolio than even my municipal bonds did, or my bonds. And so I've been slowly moving money out of the REITs into just different things as I see deals coming. So the general idea is to spread the money out, take the capital gains, and then spread the money out among these different sectors to kind of get them evened out. Um, General idea is to basically get at least 2 or 3 different things in each section, so that when you have a market like today, so you get utilities and you get REITs up. If you look at O right here, but then on other days when everybody's like, "Oh, China's fine now," all of a sudden, this section of the portfolio is outperforming, doing really great. So, so just gonna show you what I added so far. So I've owned Coke since the last few videos. Um, After Pepsi reported their earnings, I added Pepsi, especially after they said the 7% dividend increase. I added that. Um, Gonna keep adding that. Uh, Leg, um, it. This is one I've been adding also as an industrial play. Um, I think the last video I had maybe like 28 shares. Now I'm up to 40. And this is mostly from redistributing capital gains that I'm taking from different things. Um, so if you look at my capital, or this is my capital gains right here from my municipal bonds and my stocks combined. But the number went down to 600, and then the stocks went way back up, and then it went down, and it's been moving around. I normally like to lock in my capital gains, especially if I have any long-term capital gains. The only time I really don't do that too much is doing with municipal bonds. So I added Pepsi. I added Verizon. I added AT&T. You'll see right here. CVS. This is a healthcare play. So right now, until we figure out who's going to be the president, I'm staying away from healthcare. Some people are piling into it right now, and there's too many unknowns. because even if Trump wins, people are going to expect him to do something about healthcare. Um, his plan might be more friendly towards the healthcare companies, but even then, I mean, they're just an easy punching bag for a politician. So we'll have to see how that goes. Another one that I added uh, when I saw it report earnings, and they got it down their earnings, and they're pretty much the only ones that literally said, hey, we might take a hit from this coronavirus. We can't really tell you what it's going to be. So of course the market overreacted, but they did the same thing with IBM, and IBM was at 142, it went up to 145, and it went back down to 142. It's been bouncing around. I jumped all in IBM around that time because solid earnings and they're paying down debt, which is going to be two of the bigger things going forward, especially after Kraft Heinz got downgraded today. Everybody's going to be looking around to see who's paying down debt. But so if we go here, you kind of look at that. So even though it's down today, it's actually down by a lot. But even though it's down today, my total gain is still $47 because of how early I got into it. So this is the same thing. This was that China trade when the original China news hit. There's just a few of stocks that got thrown under the bus. So like Disney, for example, that's when I bought it, and it's still up 83. Cat is identical because China buys a ton of industrial equipment. This is just another one. I've got it at 133 and it's at 137. I'm still total gain. So even though I'm getting hammered today in the stock market, really I'm not getting hammered, but I mean, my biggest stock down is down $36 in the grand scheme of things. I mean, yeah. But I added Pepsi for sure. That just goes right there with Coke. One that I did add, and I got it at a really nice price. I've been wanting to add because my only utility exposure for specific stock exposure for years really wasn't much, but I had Gabix. This is like a utility ETF. It's really super cheap. They pay a dividend monthly, plus they pay a thing at the end of the year, which ended up on here. You see this right here? Non-dividend distribution. That is them. And that is basically that if you ever notice you'll get extra money in December sometimes, that's where it's coming from. So if you have like REITs or utilities, they have to pay out a certain amount of their money, like the extra, basically. And yeah, you could look more into that. But if you're ever wondering so you'll get a dividend in December, but then all of a sudden you'll get just this extra payment sometimes either in December or January, depending on the company. But that's where that's coming from. So Gabix is a perfect example. So if I look there, so here's where's the number at? It's in here somewhere. But this might not be the best way to view it, but they do just different payments. So I got extra. I added Southern Company, and I specifically added Duke because Duke is doing more of a transition into more solar kind of stuff. So it was a really good stock to add. So I bought 13 shares. Well, I bought 9 shares at 96 on the 29th. And then I bought 4 more on the 5th right here. So that's one that's really outperforming today. That's one that's really outperforming, just period outperforming. REITs, utilities, things like Coke, Pepsi, just really going to do well, just period, until this whole Corona thing goes over, just because rates are coming in so much. Bond yields are going down so much because of just people piling into treasuries. So for example, I'm up 4% since I got into Disney, up 2 points. I would be up further, but I mean up 2.79. On the shares that I got at 135 right there. Duke is one of these ones. So if you look at LTC, this is just for the month of January, really, because I got into LTC at the end or at the middle of January. Well, 6%. Duke's up 5%. Coke's up 5%. O's up 4%. O has actually been really surprising me. Because people are just piling into it. And then you got Disney, that's up. So you just got to get into these stocks at the right time. I jumped into CVS today. I got into more of it. Um, so I got into CVS at 74 because I saw it go up. And I needed another healthcare stock outside of Johnson and Johnson. Um, so I jumped into CVS at 74. It went down, but if it went up so this is the same thing that IBM did. So it went up on earnings because everybody liked their earnings, and then it went down just because for whatever reason people like to sell things. You can look at whatever the news is. Everybody's got a reason why they're selling or do something. But I mean, it's got a 14 PE. It's got solid earnings, and it's got a pretty solid dividend. Um, as soon as it touched 70, I bought more of it. So I'm actually up on those shares I bought at 70. This is the exact same thing I did with pretty much anything like IBM or IBM or Disney. Kind of the same thing I've been doing with Verizon. Verizon's jumping around right now because of the whole T-Mobile thing, which I think is kind of stupid. I mean, yeah, T-Mobile picked up Sprint, but then the company that owns T-Mobile, I have no problem with T-Mobile. I like them. They just don't pay a dividend, but the company that owns T-Mobile is saying, well, now that we got this approved by the judge, now we want to renegotiate the deal because the price of Sprint is super cheap compared to when we originally offered to buy it. So now we want to renegotiate that. Yeah. So have fun with that if you're a T-Mobile shareholder. I'm sure that's all over the place, especially if you're a Sprint shareholder. That thing was up 70% because they were about to go bankrupt. So yeah, so the whole Sprint T-Mobile drama was going on, but so I jumped into Verizon, just as a telecom play. Plus, it's just got a stupid high dividend, and it's got a 12 PE on it. I mean, these two, when I get my tax return, you're gonna see these two bump up a lot, and that's just for the simple fact if I go over here, telecom's at 4.37, and healthcare's at 8. So I could easily see adding more to CVS without a doubt, especially if it stays at this stupid low price. And then I can also easily see adding way more Verizon. I might add way more AT&T also. I need to up my telecom game. But yeah. So I just been I didn't, and like I said in my last video, I didn't think I was going to have opportunities to buy some of these things at some of these prices that I consider cheap at the moment, especially after they came out with earnings that backed up these things that they're saying. So that's why it was so easy. I think I'm pretty much done selling O. O is going to sit right there. I don't see myself sitting on it anymore. I think I'm pretty much set with what you see right here right now. Only time I'll take profits is if I see so like Travelers was up $1 today, so I sold one share at 138, I believe it was, and I used that to buy more down here. It's like CVS, I think that's actually what I used to buy CVS today. Let me see. No, oh yeah, there it is. So that's what I used to buy CVS. I sold one share of Travelers because it was up a lot, and then I used that to buy 2 shares of CVS. And these are just such obvious things. So I take a short-term capital gains tax on that, but because of my tax bracket, and that's what I'll show you here in a second, it's not really that much. It's like 12%. So I take the gain, plus I'm able to buy CVS just stupid cheap. So I make my money back almost immediately. If I had more money right now, I'd probably be adding more Disney. Cat, without a doubt, I'd be adding more of that. Just solid earnings per share, 13 PE. I mean, pretty nice dividend. I mean, these are just such obvious buys. IBM's not an obvious buy right now. Maybe if it came down a little more, but I mean, it did come down a lot today. But if it went up to 155, chances once all this China stuff's finally resolved, it's going to go back up to 155 or even higher. I think analyst estimates have it at 165, so take that. So let me show you the performance here. So this is my performance going all the way back to January 1st. Throw in the Dow and S&P, so subtract. So this is another thing that continues. So see how I'm down 0.15, Dow's down 0.31, S&P is doing pretty good. But it's also because you have some things that are really outperforming today in the S&P, or else that would just be tanking just like the Dow. And then of course you have the Nasdaq that's just ridiculous right now. Yeah, I don't know what the Nasdaq's going to do after Q1. This thing right here. But because if you look at the Nasdaq performance comparison, if I take the Nasdaq Composite for example, 8.24. So it's been a winning bet if you're in it. Like I said with people with Tesla, don't get too greedy. I'm like, when that thing hit $900, I was telling some people, if you're in it for the short term, take profits. But so as you can kind of see how I'm doing right here, kind of keeping up. S&P is doing really good. Beating the Dow right now. Wish I was beating the Nasdaq, but there ain't no chance I'm gonna beat that. There ain't no way. There's just way too much piling into that right now. But if you notice, it's outperforming these three. So maybe it'll come back down. But last year it outperformed too, so it way outperformed. So estimated income, let me show you all that. Right now, 1415.83. As I said in my previous video, I'm trying to bump up April. Pretty much my goal is to, so if you see right here, you see how it's 153, 145, 145. My goal is to get these little months in between up to this 150 something number. And if you go down to April, you can see how I could do that. So that would be stocks specifically, not things like REITs or anything. So like, putting more in the Xerox, Leg, for example, that's paying 16. So I could easily bump these up. So if I go down to May, it's also kind of the same thing. So this is what I said before. AT&T, Verizon, I put part of my tax return into that, and I put, I also picked up Procter and Gamble too, by the way. It's, some of these are just easy to bump up, very, very, just extremely solid companies that are very easy to bump up. So like the May, for example, the August, the November, I'm already over 100 in some of these. So yeah, definitely want to try and even this out, especially these little months like October and April, without a doubt. But that's fairly easy to do. So let me show y'all this. So you should have gotten one of these. I'll go over this real quick. And this really, really matters. You need to know what your tax bracket is. So you need to know what you're going to get taxed at. So this is the 2019 capital gains rates. And then there's also, and you could do this yourself. So that's capital gains. So capital gains is when you sell a stock and take a profit. Dividend tax rate is just when you get paid a dividend. Okay, so these are two different things you gotta understand, and it also, you really have to pull up these charts if you're going to be doing this yourself. So I'm in this income bracket because I'm in Louisiana. So I'm in the 12%. So every time I get a dividend paid out to me, specifically a qualified dividend, see that right there, 272, that's taxed at 12%. Okay, so this is my total. See this right here, 1B, 5, and 6. That's my total. So this is qualified dividends, 272.23, okay? That, where's my guy at? It's taxed at 12%. Make sure I got that right before I have somebody call me out in the comments. Yeah, so that's the 2020 and this is the 2019. So I was taxed at 12% because I'm below that income threshold, okay? This is the long-term capital gains rate. This is something else you got to know. Where's it at? So that's your tax rate. So you have to pull these charts up if you're going to be doing it yourself. Especially if this lets you know if something's worth selling. If it's worth taking the tax hit on, because you're going to take a tax hit on it. So, all those Tesla millionaires out there right now that cashed in once it hit $900, it's going to be like all those Bitcoin millionaires out there that all of a sudden did their taxes and they were like, oh my God, I owe $400,000 to the government. You know, because all of a sudden you're like, yeah, man. But the problem is that as soon, you know, there were some people in Bitcoin that made over 600 grand. Now all of a sudden they sold it all. You know, they sold it all and like they were like, oh my God. It depends on what you got taxed at, but I mean it was pretty rough on some of those people. They were on Twitter just freaking out. But so qualified dividends is basically things like Procter and Gamble paying out a dividend, Verizon paying out a dividend. Okay, these are U.S. companies paying out dividends basically. Um, O, Big Buddy O, Realty Investment Corp. Um, they fall under this section 199A dividends. I had to go look it up myself because it was on my papers over here. But they fall under this 199A dividends, and that defines it's pretty much part of the tax code that kind of describes what their how their dividends are supposed to work. That's that whole thing you keep hearing about, how they have to pay out 90% of their profits to qualify as a REIT and all that stuff. But so that's those guys. Let's see here. Non-dividend distribution. I had to go look this up because I totally forgot. You can look all this up. So non-dividend distribution. This is that thing I was telling you about before. So when the utilities have to, you know, that December payment that you get, that's a non-dividend distribution. So you get your normal dividend in December, right? And all of a sudden you look around and you're like, whoa, what's this extra amount that I'm getting for no reason? Another one I believe that did that is this one right here, SVAX. I believe they did it. Yeah, they did it right here. So you see, I own 337 shares of that. I think they did it in 2018 too. Yeah, they did in 2018. So see how they paid me $58 in 2018, and then all of a sudden I got my regular dividend right here. And this is the same thing. 2019, see I got paid 89, and then I got paid $9. That's the power of compounding or compounding dividends right there. This is a value stock, by the way. It's stupid cheap. It's a value ETF, sorry. But if you go into it, go to the portfolio. It's exactly what you would expect to see under a value name. Philip Morris, Verizon. It's literally my portfolio, basically. The reason why they did that December thing, you see these little Dominion Energy, Duke, that kind of stuff. But so that's just a pretty good one. It's if you're looking for, if you can't afford some of these $150 stocks and all that, see if you can buy SVAX. It's literally just a value tracking. It's like it's kind of like a dividend aristocrats tracking name, but if you can't afford the actual stock, like J&J for example, go look up one of these. You know, $5.70. There you go. That's your millennial Starbucks right there. Everybody makes fun of millennials for. There you go. That's your Starbucks right there. Also, forgot to say, added Walmart, L Brands, Home Depot, McDonald's to the watch list. If I see these pull back, they'll get added to the stock list there. So let me go back over here to this guy. Exempt dividends. See all this stuff right here? That's municipal bonds. So I made this right here. See that 435? I made that 435 from regular stocks and just different things that go on with stocks. Those are the municipal bonds that pay out every month tax free. If I sold a municipal bond and took a long-term capital gain, if I bought a municipal bond at a low price and I sold it at a higher price, I will take a capital gains hit. That'll come up right under here. Where would that come up at? Probably right here. No. Oh, sorry. It would come up right here under the thing that literally says capital gains. For 2020, when I do my taxes, taxable, see this long-term capital gain right there? That's because at the beginning of the year, I waited until the beginning of the new tax year to sell some of my municipal bonds that I had been holding since 2018. So I took a long-term capital gain tax. I believe that's 0, actually. No, I'm gonna get hit at 15. It sucks, but is what it is. So see this 15%. Slap it on top of that right there. So that was that money I freed up. So I used it to buy, I think, Disney. So I've got my money back 100, so many times over by now. Let's see what we got here. This thing right here, I had to actually go look this up in the paperwork to figure out what in God's name this was, because I thought they got rid of it. This was a Goldman Sachs fixed income thing that I had. I couldn't even figure out what it was. It's something that I had that had that I guess still had AMT exposure on it. And that took me a while to go look that up. I was trying to actually look it up to see what in God's name that was. But, yeah, I had to figure out what that was. But it was $26. So I had to figure that out. This foreign tax paid, I had to go look that up. Because it actually asks you when you're doing your taxes, did you pay any foreign taxes? I paid foreign taxes on something. I actually have to go look and figure out what in God's name that was. But basically, that's when some companies will charge, or so if they pay you a dividend, some stocks will charge you, especially if you do any Canadian banks, like Royal Bank of Canada or something like that. You'll get say if you'll get a, what is it, like RBC? I don't know, but yeah, no, it's right there. There it is. I thought it was RBC, but it's a Royal Bank of Canada or something like that. But as soon as you get paid your dividend, you'll literally see it get taxed immediately as soon as you get paid your dividend. And I gotta go look in my paperwork to figure out which one this specifically was. But this was something I had. It was like 70 cents. You literally get asked about this. Did you pay a foreign income tax? It's actually a separate question that they ask you. You fill in the box, plus you also have to answer a separate question. So let me hit refresh real fast. Oh, now I'm positive all of a sudden. I haven't been positive all day, and now all of a sudden I'm positive. Welcome to Fridays. Yeah, Fridays have definitely been risk off for the market. Because you never know what kind of corona news you're going to get over the weekend. You just know it's going to be really bad. So all of a sudden I'm positive. So there you go. I don't know. Market turned positive too. So maybe Trump tweeted something. I got to go look. But maybe China tweeted something that said they cured the virus or something. Nah, market would probably be up way more. I don't know. I'll probably end up down. I don't know. See how every time I hit refresh it does something new. But so that's kind of where I'm at. I will definitely update you guys next week when I post another video. But I did want to show kind of how everything's going. And then, yeah, definitely wanted to give you guys an idea. So if you have any questions, just definitely let me know in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer anything. If you are not comfortable filing your taxes on your own, if you're used to filing your own taxes and you're not comfortable, go have an accountant do this. I think it's straightforward, but if you have, if you have something way more complicated or something else going on, have a professional do this for you because, it's not as simple as filling out a W-2. You have to kind of make sure you get everything right. You have to make sure you answer the questions correctly. And then some of y'all might have exposure to different things that are just doing some pretty wild stuff in your portfolio that, your foreign taxes paid might be something, or, just, you might have this, or like that, or like, yeah. So definitely, if you're not comfortable at all, don't, just, just have a professional do it. Um, Actually, kind of funny. I started a video saying that the amount from my prior video was lower than this one. I might be able to actually take that back. Um, Something's rallying, but that's that end of the day rally that happens right around 2:30. All of a sudden, all those buy orders that were sitting in the system all of a sudden come through. So, yeah, I have to figure it out. But I don't know. I'll go with this amount right there, 41,764. That's a good number to put on the video. That sounds close, good, better than anything. Like I said, let me know if you have any questions for sure, and then I'll be happy to answer whatever you got. Thank you so much for watching.